Kneel before Super Saturday because it has outdone itself. After one of the great days of Test match rugby, your favourite Irish quartet is not fully back because we're -1, but we're going to discuss Ireland's win over Scotland and how our depth charts shapes up heading into the summer. Let's start the show. Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Interpro Show, your home for all things Irish rugby from across the professional and amateur men's and women's game in Ireland. We have a duo with me tonight in the form of Ulster Adam, or Sharice are calling him Suftum Adam based on recent messages, and Leinster David with me. And lads, it was a long weekend of rugby. Well, a long weekend and a long weekend of rugby as well. Adam, you were worse for wear on the URC show, Saturday Station show. Do you want to issue a formal apology to the masses because they didn't seem to
I
like your
was
appearance?
no, not really. I was like hyped up on flu tablets. I was just bedbound all Saturday. So if I got anything wrong, which I tend to do, and I can't blame it on the flu often. However, I was horrific with the thing. I was convinced, like I celebrated in England, tried there must have been something wrong with me.
To,
And I
to
did
be fair,
think
I did as well.
yeah, yeah. Well, do you know what? It was that one of those moments where I felt a bit like, so I had a shower afterwards. After that, but yeah, I like to issue an apology to the ones that I annoyed by being hopped up on flu tablets. I'm not on flu tablets now, so I should have everything okay.
The joys of being a teacher around young kids is that you're always going to pick up the various plagues that they carry with them.
Oh, yeah, it's one of those that I expect my immune system to be really good, and then there's a new strain of a flu that comes out, and it's worse than the last. But as I said, like I spent most of the weekend bedbound, and then cut to Monday, I was doing Hickory Dickory Dock. So, swings and roundabouts.
At the Hill Dickinson Stadium. Hey.
Yeah, my Fijian town. Um,
David, it was a weekend of a lot of rugby, a lot of entertaining rugby. Um, but I suppose the big question I have to ask, considering you are from Dublin, is how excited were you to see Vogue Williams as this year's Grand Marshal?
Is that who they got? Oh,
That is who
congratulations.
they
Sure.
got, yes.
Take time out of her busy schedule marketing personal tablets to
I was
make
gonna
the
say
parade.
person, small and mighty.
I really hope this finds the right audience. Anyways,
oh yeah, no, it was fantastic. I didn't make it into the parade myself, but I heard good things. I heard it was wonderful. I heard if you were so inclined and wanted to buy a grandstand ticket, they would have put you back as about as much as an Irish rugby ticket, and that's saying something. So fair play
ooh,
to the powers that be for managing to monetize that particular parade. But no, no, it was a good weekend. After the weird Monday, the weird day between a bank holiday and a weekend. But no, look, the rugby was phenomenal. It was a fitting end to a phenomenal tournament, and it'll be a come down now to go back to URC rugby, but no, it was a great end to a great competition, and yeah, I think it'll be one that is remembered for a long time.
yeah. Well,
Sorry,
coming up,
I'm fighting a cat here.
you're great. Coming up in this week's Patreon podcast, where there's such things like Adam's Cold and different podcasters and British leaders, but Lee
Who
apparently
did a
won't
better
let
version
us.
of Poker Face, Maggie Thatcher, or I won't finish that.
No, no, leave that to the Patreon, my friends. I just can't believe
Maggie
that
Thatcher or P.
uh,
Flynn, who's going to win that sing off? Let's see.
but Vogue Williams is not liking what she's listening to right now because according to Kellen, Vogue Williams listens to it if the right
No,
audience hears.
no, I
I
just
want
said
personal
if the
tablets,
right
please.
audience.
Personal tablets.
Ben is about to join us, and he does not know
Speaking
what's
of
just happened. So
speaking
I
of Vogue
really hope
Williams, Ben
he's
has
going to figure
arrived.
out. Hello,
Speaking
Ben.
of,
How are you? We are live.
Ben, do you have any statements on
Hello,
behalf of Oak
friends.
Williams?
I don't want to ask. I don't want to know. The AI freed me, and that's enough for now. Hello.
Well, Ben, I'm going to throw you in at the deep end because we're going to start our Ireland v Scotland chat, I should say, with the fact that Ireland are Triple Crown champions. And according to Andy Farrell, first team since the 1970s Welsh side to win a trophy 5 years in a row. That I'm a little bit doubtful of because there's literally a trophy for 90% of Six Nations matches, but
How
Triple
many
Crown champions.
Calcuttas have they won
Yeah,
now?
I don't think he was thinking of that. I think he was just thinking Triple Crown and
Or like the
whatever.
Unity Trophy that France have won a lot of now. But yes,
But yeah, Ireland are Triple Crown champions.
Triple Crown, positive. It's something that I think we all would have taken 6 weeks ago at this point. Admittedly, getting within 40 meters of winning an actual title would have been really nice. There's some shots going around that you may have seen of the players still in the Aviva, waiting for the French game to end, and just the dejection as Ramos gets the kick is actually really heartbreaking, even for
I
someone who
I
was
have
like,
not
I
I
don't
have not seen
mind.
those pictures actually because I was under the impression that they had not meant the Aviva at that stage.
No, they were seemingly, or based on like what the picture seemed to show, they landed for the last 20 minutes when it looked like it was actually going to go our way.
Interesting.
And
Because
then
they were
with
in town. They were in the Shelburne by all
yeah,
accounts.
they were told to go out where the second trophy was there.
Mm.
This third trophy, because one of them burnt going back up to Dublin. Second trophy.
Common theme to happen on a Sunday evening going back to Dublin for your job slash
Sorry, going
college.
back to Dublin. I think it was where I was leaving that caused the problems.
Look, having someone who's done Limerick to Dublin many times, I don't blame it for combusting on the way up the road. You gotta just stop and you take your wins where you get them. But look, Triple Crown, excellent. To say remotely on topic, we saw some good rotation. We got a couple of good wins. Hey, we go again in November and the Nation Series thing, championship
The
stuff.
UEFA Nations League, not
Yeah,
sponsored by UEFA, essentially.
that thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And
that
it'll
that
be a
thing.
lot of fun, and we'll see some new players, and well, we won't, but we might, and we'll see what happens.
We can live in hope. We lived in hope coming in after November, and look, it ended up happening. So maybe we are the beacons. But on the older edge of the spectrum, Adam, because we spent a lot of time over the last couple of weeks talking about Balakoon, McCluskey, Tom O'Toole. I know they're all Ulster, um, Tommy O'Brien,
Soft
Keith,
them, hashtag soft
Jesus,
them.
Keane Prendergast, etc. Guys who are new guys, Jeremy Luckman, who stood in and did a job. But this game, I think, was a revert to type. It was the stars. It was Doris. It was Byrne. It was Crowley. Probably Ireland's three best players on the day. Those three, and that's good as well because you wouldn't have wanted to go on a full tournament by saying, "Geez, I'm not 100% sure on how well Ireland's Lions played." But I think we did manage to get that second big performance out of them. Thank God.
Yeah, it was really good. I thought that like I think that everyone stood up. Like this game was like one of those moments where Tag Byrne was absolutely everywhere to the point where my favorite tweet, and I mentioned this as well on the United Rugby Rewind, was that he was going around with his newborn, and somebody said he probably stole that from Scotland as well. Um, but he was unbelievable. I thought Jack was also really good. I thought that just in general, the lads were on fire. Gibson Park also had a really solid game. Like it's one of those where we like yes, I'm one of those people that would call for rotation, rotation, rotation. But I love getting proved wrong to the point where somebody like Gibson Park can pull out like world class performances again, and I'm like, yes, keep it to Ireland, not for Leinster. No offense, David, but like keep it to Ireland. We'll happily have that for the World Cup, but yeah, it's good to see like the old guard still has it. But it's also really good to see like the new players coming through and the likes of Dara Murray coming off the bench, and all 6'7" of him, and he flung himself around like a man possessed as well. Like there's good moments in Tag Burn, but when Murray came on, like he showed like he took his hat, like in my opinion, took it with both hands and ran with it. But yeah, I thought it was really positive. Probably our best game of the tournament. I think
I
our
think
best
so.
game of the tournament, given the quality of opposition as well. Um, that being said, Scotland didn't necessarily have a very good game, but I think we can only play what's best in front of us, and we also played a nice attacking game of rugby compared to the one-dimensional style of play that we played against France as well.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. Oh my goodness, I'm getting fed up with these background changes here, guys. Um, it was for me, it was definitely Ireland's best performance, and even the fact that I'm not even going to acknowledge these at this stage. I'm just going to let you off like school, like naughty school kids. I felt bad saying that word. Um, but definitely Ireland's best performance because Scotland counterpunched. Scotland kept coming back at Ireland. They kept showing up. They kept doing something. I thought Finn Russell, Kyle Steyn in particular, those two were absolutely brilliant. Thought Roy Darge has had an excellent tournament. I did a team of the tournament. He was probably one of the locks in it, if I'm honest. I thought every game he played for Scotland, he was brilliant. I went with Finn at 10. Some say it's because I'm a big Bath rugby fan. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? But David, to echo the sentiment of Adam as per usual, and Ben for a change, it was a very positive Six Nations for Ireland. 4 wins from five, a triple crown, same as last year. But as we have often said, the talent is there. Just take a look at Robert Balakoon, Stuart McCluskey, Tom O'Toole, guys who've been around counts for years, haven't got the minutes. Well, they showed they're more than good enough.
Yeah, no, they have. It was like I think there was always well, not a concern, but there was it's always been a question of would you be willing to ship victories if it meant you got to try out new guys. And it seems like if you choose the right new guys, you can have both, which is quite nice. Obviously, Stuart McCluskey is the odd one because he's been around so long. Like it's not like he's a new boy on the block at all. He's well into his 30s. He's been such a talisman for Ulster. I think he was in a way a known quantity who just wasn't given the space because of who he was trying to get past. But like to see someone like Rob Balakoon, who, I was there when he made his debut back in 2021, and you could see the speed he had and the potential he had, but there was stuff that Andy Farrell wanted him to work on, that sort of untidiness, that busyness outside of it, and he's had to deal with some awful injuries in the interim as well. But to see him get this opportunity and then take it, like that's the thing with the opportunities. It's not just being given them; it's taking them. And it seemed like everybody who was given an opportunity took it. Darren Murray probably the standout in that, and that the very final round. Apparently, he was doing great work on the lineouts. Anyone from Connacht will know that that's a strength of his in camp the whole time, and Ireland had a markedly improved lineout over this competition. To then be in the squad for that final match, come off the bench as a blood sub for Ty Byrne, and in that time, while they patched Ty Byrne up on the sideline, Darren Murray scored a try. So that's taking your opportunity to the nth degree. So no, it's super encouraging to bring
Like
the age
I would
profile
just
of the squad down to show that. Oh,
I would hope we see more of that. That like what we don't want to see. I think David, you touched on it there. That like we don't want to see in November we're going back to type where we're bringing back in Hansen,
But
Henshaw, Lowe,
I'd
kind of
almost
yeah.
go to start said November, fair enough. It's World Cup. It's 12 months out, it's
Yeah,
World Cup. It's this June, we've got Japan, an Australia team who aren't great. It's like, yeah, let's give Darren Murray, Jude, Tom Ahern, guys who may have missed out, just Bryn Ward,
like give McCluskey a
Balakoon.
chance to nail down his jersey. Give Doak a chance to come in and say, I am backup nine. As
I,
much as I don't
Gibson
like it,
Park
but
is one of the
like
players I wouldn't bring in the summer just because we need to get a look at two nines now. Plain and simple. And Gibson Park is
yeah.
34. McCluskey's 33, and realistically, he should look more tired than anyone because he's played an awful lot of games. But geez, the man just keeps going, doesn't he? Like it's kind of insane. Now, unfortunately, Robert Balakoon, there's reports that he is injured. Haven't had it confirmed yet because I don't think he was due to be back training. As Adam kind of slips off into the dark, into the white light behind him. For anyone not on YouTube, but a very positive Six Nations. And I will say, because I get accused of being negative, I know, big surprise to anyone. I get accused of being negative from time to time. I will say the only thing that I can fault about last Saturday was the fact that they played Sweet Caroline right on full time. That's it. That's the only thing I can fault. That to me, that was head in the hands, get me out of here vibes. And shout out to Owen, who was sitting behind me, a colleague of mine, and I genuinely thought he was going to laugh more at me than anything else because we had discussed it at halftime, being like, "Geez, there's been no Sweet Caroline. This is great," and then it gets played, and then we're annoyed. But lads, we're not going to do our usual. Sorry, not you know this. Our audience don't know this. We're not going to do our usual chat. So as you may have seen the tagline, we're going to do a lot of depth chart stuff. But first, with the assistance of Puka the cat, we're going to give out some awards. So I've given out 5 categories. One of them technically is an award; it's in a ranking, but 5 categories, and I'm going to get the lads to give me their best for each. So starting with I'll start with Adam. I'll go in alphabetical order just because I can. Adam, who was your player of the tournament?
I've done lots of thinking. I was in a toss-up between uh I'm gonna say it. I thought it's quite a basic one, but I thought Menoncello was absolutely incredible. I think that he backed up what we all know, and I know that he's won the player of the tournament before, but he almost rose above that. Like his stakes are like I understand he's going to Toulouse next season, but I thought he was absolutely phenomenal. Bar the Wales game where he's relatively absent,
Yeah.
but but
Played well in the
like
second half though.
yeah, played well in the second half. The England game, he was uh, dominant against them. It's like he is the epidrome of this Italian revival and this Italian standstill of going up in the world rankings as well. They did have Sergio Parisse for a while in a poor team, but Menoncello's almost dragging up everyone to be his level now. And yeah, I'm just really excited to see how he plays, but he is my player of the tournament.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout. Ben, you are up next. Who is your player of the tournament?
Um, I think I'm gonna go with one that's probably been said a lot this week, but Louis BLBRE. You can't get 4 tries in the final game against England. You can't score in every single game and have
And 10 tries
performances.
total.
10 tries total at the age of the 21 or 22, like he's a kid. Um, he's only going to get better. It's hard to look past him. Menoncello's a close second, but for me, it's LBB. Um, that much doubt.
Yeah, I'm going to make it a third different choice, and I think this shows this is probably going to be close to being the panel that gets selected. I'm going to go with Thomas Ramos. I think he was the fulcrum of everything France did well. Don't get me wrong, Dupont had good games, Jalibert had good games. Fucking sorry, LBB had good games as well. I just did a wait, who swore? Oh, Tom Wood swore after
And
the
John
game, and
Hodnett.
John Hodnett famously, but Tom Wood did it the other day as well. So my apologies there, Lee. But I got to comments, Ramos. I think, and even like Johnny Holland mentioned it, the fact that it initially went down to making the last kick of the tournament, that's incredible. Like the absolute stones on the lad after about a 2 minute delay. Fair play to him. David, you have three contenders there, or you have about 200 other players to choose from because there's plenty who got game time. That's not actually correct, is it? But anyways, who would you like to go for?
I wrote down four names and you've said three of them.
Interesting.
So the fourth name that I had down was Stuart McCluskey.
Like to be fair, that's probably the fourth name that gets on the list as well, isn't it?
I thought he was phenomenal. I mean, obviously he's been so good for Ireland, but he's led Ireland in a way that you would look for a talisman to lead Ireland, which is impressive for someone who's relatively new to that regular position in the squad. And he's such an all-round player as well, like because he's obviously he with his size, you would expect him to just be a big bruising ball carrier, but he can also like he's kind of patented that basketball pass that he's gone for. He did it first early in the tournament. He then like did it at the end, like when Ireland had beaten Scotland, just to grab the ball. Pam was it Tupilato fling it over his shoulder to put Tommy O'Brien away in the corner. Like it was that's an incredible like it's such a straightforward pass. I'm sure any American viewers watch will be going, yeah, like surely you can all do that. But like it's such a thing to just go, yeah, you could just throw it like this if you need to. But then he also, for the Robert Balakoon try in the Scotland game, threw a peach of a pass, like 20 or 30 meters right across the pitch to land right into Balakoon's breadbasket to let him sprint down the wing to finish. So he's so complete in his position that it's only a credit to the players who were playing in front of him that it took this long for him to nail down that jersey. Even what Ben said about like giving him a chance to nail down that jersey, I don't think he needs any more time. I think he'll probably get picked for the summer tour. I think he has the benefit of because he doesn't have all that international minutes under his belt. He is fresher at the same age as say a Robbie Henshaw who looks very tired having played a lot of rugby up until now. Stuart McCluskey hasn't, but he's still young enough to do it now, and I hope he gets the chance because I think he could continue playing basically every game he's fit for Ireland for the rest of his career and do some real damage. So, I had the others listed. Menoncello, I think, has the honor of being the best player in a good Italian team. I heard another podcast. Which I know myself and Adam are big fans of, talk about Sergio Parisse having the ignoble honor of being the best player in the worst team and registering, I think, the most test losses of any player. Ramos is a nightmare because as soon as they got that penalty, we knew the France were going to win. There's just no way around it.
Yeah.
Ramos gets a kick, he's going to kick it. And LBB, he is the top two try scorers in the Six Nations. He's the number one and number two positions. And you would imagine that if the record gets set again next year, it'll be him again. So yeah, there's brilliant players like across the board, but I'm going to stick with Stu.
Yeah.
Does
Go
that
on.
mean
One in a word, Adam.
does that mean Stockdale is the de facto number two still? That's
I
all I'm
think he's
saying.
number.
He's
I think
three, but
Freeman may have
he's
beaten it.
it's
Did Freeman beat it
no
last
no no
year?
no 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 it's Stockdale three. Stockdale
It
Okay,
might
well,
be Stockdale 3, yeah.
sorry. All right.
No no no.
Last time I checked,
Let me
once the
let
record
me
gets
do
broken, it's broken. But okay. Irish player
soften.
is oh, best Irish player is
Soft.
up next, and I think it's fairly obvious the direction of travel in which we're going to go, as if Adam didn't just lead to it there. Adam, who was your best Irish player?
Stuart McCloskey. I think he was.
Before we move on, did everyone say Stuart McTuskey? Like, are we just going to end up agreeing?
I
For
I
some reason
I,
I
I
put
had
down
a
Stuart
second.
McCluskey
I,
on the best of the tournament. But I put down Gibson Park for Ireland. I don't know, just
I had
abs
McCluskey as honorable
absolutely someone
mention.
who's won a higher honor.
Yeah, I went to halfbacks, like the two of them. Um,
Fair.
I
I
wouldn't have
mean,
thought
it's
you were
a
that big a Sam
little
Prendergast fan, though.
bit of a cop out, but I mean, look, the backup scrum halves didn't exactly get enough minutes. Look, I think it's McCluskey. Adam thinks it's McCluskey. David technically does think it's McCluskey because he gave him player of the tournament, and Ben just
look,
has he's
you
sitting on
can't
the
not
fence.
go McCluskey, but I was like, three of them are going to say McCluskey. And let's
That's
change it a
fair.
little bit.
Um,
We don't just
best.
have the Stewart hour, which,
I mean,
Adam,
the
fine.
short is going to
But
come up in a minute, so that's why I want to move on to this one as well. Adam, what was your best moment?
Oh, I think my best moment has to be Italy beating England for the first time.
That's fair.
I think the pure emotion of it all, it was incredible. It was like really good to see. Like it shows that I think Ethan on the Six Nations Rewind put it perfectly as Italy have now become the new Scotland in that they can beat anyone. They only need to beat out the All Blacks now in their history, but they can beat
True.
anyone but lose to the ones that you would normally think that they'd have a win against. But I
It's the
think
sign
it,
of an average team, isn't it? To be
but
honest.
compared to the Italy of old, and they used to be the ones that we always think they're going to get 40 points on us, they put on a good performance against us. They probably put in one of their best performances against us, and we couldn't get a bonus point out of them. The Scotland game at the start, look at how Scotland progressed as well. I think that Italian team it could be something special. Well, it is something special to beat England for the first time. That's history. Like it's not even the fact that they beat England. I would say the same if they beat us in the Aviva. It's history and fair play to them. They nearly won the Triple Crown.
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
I mean,
in
technically they
theory.
were stuffed on the final day, but like, yes,
Yeah.
I do know where you're coming from. I kind of keep forgetting about this. It probably is best moment, but I'm going with Stuart McCluskey punching
Uh,
down Marcus Smith because
yeah.
there's something in our Irish psyche of being the underdog, and that's an underdog moment. He has no right to get there. The game is won. He doesn't need to track back. And just with every split second, you can feel yourself getting more positive, more positive, more positive. It's like, oh my God, he has him. And genuinely, I think that's the moment I celebrated most in that game because I love stuff like that. Um, Sorry, I jumped the gun. It should have been Ben next. But Ben, what is your best moment?
I'm glad you did jump the gun. It's like the exact same as Adam.
Okay,
Um,
fair. Uh,
Italy beating England. It's one of those like
it's
to watch
unexplainable.
to
I mean,
watch it in a
it's
pub
yeah.
here as well, where you just have like the oh, it's really funny. It's England, but also oh, Italy beat England. Just
I was at the under 20s game and it was Welsh and Irish fans. And Welsh and Irish fans who go to the under 20s games are probably big rugby fans. So imagine their reaction.
we had Limerick and Cork, and it was like, oh, All Ireland is blah 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 blah, and then it was Italy, England. It was just fantastic, and it's one of those. If Italy have a reeling in the years, like it will headline that for decades to come.
What? Just headline it anyways. At
I,
RT. It's our favorite moment.
I was at a stag in a pub in Trim, a stag that had crashed the day two of a different wedding,
Oh,
and
Jesus.
it was something to see that crowd of people in like a random pub in Trib just chanting Italia, so it the fever took over. It was something else
And
like
leading the crew at the front was a man named
Big
David
Jerry,
Jordial.
Big Jerry, Big Jerry. They gave me the
David, your best
experience of
moment though,
packing down
is
those
it that
front
one?
rows. That's probably my best moment. Yeah, like a phenomenal. Like obviously want Italy to be up. I've been a zebra supporter for years. That's how much of a masochist I am. So, yeah, no, to see Italy do that and to see them do it in a game where they didn't even play as well as they're capable of playing, but they did what they needed to do to win. Like it's phenomenal. If I had to pick a moment, it's not my moment because it obviously was not great for me, but and stick with me on this one. The moment that Nika Amishikeli threw his arm out to indicate that France had advantage at the end of that game, that's got to be a moment because everybody knew what it meant. Like straight away, every single person who knew that Thomas Ramos was on the pitch knew what that meant. There was no question. And like there's something to be said for a player who is that singular in their ability that nobody on either side has any doubts about what's about to happen. So I think that deserves to be marked. That was something.
Yeah, and the next one, the final one, because we're kind of gone a little bit over, because I kind of forgot that you like to talk. Adam, if you were to give these Six Nations a grade, I'm sorry, I know you're a teacher, and I'm starting with you on
Did
this.
we not do try the tournament?
Oh, we
And
haven't
we
done
can
time
just
as
we
well.
can just skip
I've
that.
I've got
Sorry.
such a good one for that one as well.
Okay, in a word, give me your try of the tournament, Adam.
Kyle Stein's first one against France.
That was a
That was a
nice
really good
move.
one. That
Ben,
was a really good one.
Uh, Marion against England in Rome.
Was the
yes,
final try?
72nd minute to win the
yes,
game.
I forgot it was Maran that scored it. David.
Yeah, mine was Marin against England as well.
I mean, I keep forgetting
I
about this
think I think
game.
there's a nice parallel. The most important Italy tries are not the try score isn't the one remembered because the other most
True.
important Italy try was the Capuozzo try that wasn't Capuozzo. It was Pani who actually scored it because he
Was
passed
it?
it inside at the end. Yeah, because
Yeah.
Capuozzo was running up the wing and they needed the conversion, so he passed it inside to Pani.
Or was it
Tony
couple?
Chesum took those
No, it
took
was
It
those
was
marks.
Padovani who scored it.
Padovani.
Close.
Padovani. That's who
Yes,
finished it.
close,
Sorry.
close. I'm just going to go Reese Carey because fuck it. Like,
Oh,
sorry, Lee, again.
yeah.
But like, come on, it's a big man scoring a try. Like, I celebrated it. Like, I won't lie. I was like, yes, big man scores try from distance. But Adam, teaching hat on. Out of 10, what are you giving this Six Nations?
It's hard to say. Like I would put it down as a 9 out of 10. Like it's one of those that like it's so close to 10. Like what would have been ironically enough, and I'm not saying it as an Irish fan to add more drama to it if we would have won it because it would have been quite funny. It would have been one of those moments where it'd have been like, oh, we supported England and they won. Cheers for that. They owe us one. But but it was one of those that yeah, a 9.5 out of 10. I thought it was superb. I thought there was you put it on the group chat perfectly as there was 5 games that went to script in that whole tournament. Everything else it was just like, oh yeah, this is what we're gonna do. What score is gonna come up as well. Even the Wales v Italy game when Wales won. That's their first professional that's their first what win in the Six Nations in 3 years. So there was stories there, and it's stories that we'd remember back when it comes to next year Six Nations. We go like, how can we top that? Like the Six Nations trophy even burnt down. It was so good this year.
Yeah, that is true. Literally just as you said that about the burning, I watched Liverpool have a penalty save. That's why my eyes just Ben is happy. Ben, out of 10, what's your number?
8, just because I don't think it reached the heights of the last Super Saturday when it was England France instead of Ireland win the title. Primarily
I
because Ireland did
mean,
win it that year, and that's
that
probably
that that arguably wasn't as good of a tournament as this one, though. Do you know?
yes. But I've got nostalgia. It was an excellent tournament. It was
Yeah.
one of the better Six Nations, certainly better in the best of Farrell's reign slash era.
Post-COVID, we can say.
Certainly the best post COVID. I just have a teeny bit of nostalgia for the last Super Saturday when
That's
it was
that's
England.
fair. The last Super Saturday, and this is the last tangent that I'll do for a while, was I went to a Bateman Cup semi-final in between the Ireland game and the England France game because there was a bit of a block there. The Ireland game was quite early. It was like a 2 o'clock game. The other one was half 5. They went to a Bateman Cup semi-final. and watch Darren Sweetnam score tries for fun because Darren Sweetnam, before he made the step up to Munster, was an absolute god at AIL level. I'm going to give this a 9.5 out of 10. I'm the same as Adam. I thought it delivered at every turn. I think even the bad games had something about them, like Wales or France, Italy, and Lille. It was like just Italy were good. Like Italy were good in that game, do you know? And those nice jerseys. Kit clash, by the way. Ah, that kit clash on Saturday night. It's just it's wrecking my head. Uh, David, if you were involved in that game, you'd be allowed to wear that against the French kit, based on what we just seen. What are you giving this out of 10?
Well, for those of you watching along at home, there was a little Easter egg for you there. I thought this one went all the way to 11. It was phenomenal. It was just brilliant because like I don't think that the best Six Nations can be one that anyone wins at a Grand Slam because that'll be proof that someone's too dominant. I think we thought France might be that coming out of week one, possibly an overemphasis on how
Coming
good
out
it
of
is
week three, I think, to
to
be
beat
fair.
us. But it just showed that it's hard to do because it's hard to be that good for that long. It's the frailties start to leak in. Somebody you underestimate somebody, or somebody has a really good day and you have a really bad day, and everybody had those. For Ireland to start so low and finish so high, for Italy to register 2 wins and be frustrated that they didn't get more. England to start so high and finish so low. Scotland to come as agonizingly close to winning a Six Nations as they ever have. And then France to finish it in the incredibly dramatic fashion they did. It was box office, it was television. I think they'll be raging that they don't still have that full contact show going because this would have made a hell of a season.
Yeah, no, it was incredible. And before we move on to depth chart, I should remind everyone, please do like and subscribe for all of your global game line content, including the Intro Show every week and the return of URC Rewind, which Adam is on. But gentlemen, if you could just let me know when this pops up on screen, thank you very much. I think I see it on David's glasses, so we're all good. So we're going to move on to depth chart. Now, just the first rule of thumb, right, is that there's a coding. 2026 cap, 2025 cap, test capped at any time, Ireland A or whatever those games, and uncapped in black. That's for people on YouTube. It is more of a YouTube experience, this one. And I should also say, I made this list. I'm not Andy Farrell, right? Okay, so this may be
Wait,
wrong. Don't come
wait,
at me.
you're not from Wigan? I thought you were from.
Is
Oh
he
no,
from
never
Wigan?
mind. Yeah, he's from
Is he?
Wigan.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
Rugby
Just
league is
actually,
his sport, and he came
sorry,
to rugby union.
Sorry, I hate to do a tangent again. Bolton want the Ryder Cup? Like, I know Limerick has it, but that's fucking random. Like, anyways, I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. I promise. So, what we're going to do is we're going to divide it up. Of course, if there was three of us, it would have been easier. So, apologies, Ben's Wi-Fi popping back in. But Adam's going to take the tight five. David's going to take the back row. I'm going to take the halfbacks, and Ben is going to take the back line from there. Adam, I have, and I'll just do top five in each position and everyone on YouTube then can read it after that. So we have Andrew Porter, Paddy McCarthy, Tom O'Toole, Jack Boyle, Jeremy Luckman as the top props, and Michael Milne, I suppose, just deserves a mention because he played. Dan Sheehan, Ronan Keller, Tom Stewart, Gus McCarthy, and I have Lee Barron next. That's a coin toss. He did play the last A game. Tyke Furlong, Finley Bealham, Thomas Clarkson, Scott Wilson, Sam Elo, with the capped Jack Ainger and Ollie Yeager behind them. What is your thoughts on the Irish front row stock at the moment? Because a lot of talk about the Tom O'Toole capping and all of that kind of stuff. Where are you with it?
I think it's like there's a lot more to look at in terms of um like what I like about this depth chart is the fact that we've got so many loose heads that like when they're all fit on paper, it looks like we have such good loose head stock. I thought Tom O'Toole was very good at loose head. I think the experiment of him going to loose head actually happening was a bit of a weird one for me because I mentioned on the group chat that it was always spoke about, but Richie Murphy sees him more as a tight head prop. So I would almost argue that his versatility, like the fact that he can do both sides, is only going to work better for us, as well. The hooker, the hooker position is a position that we've got so many riches in. It's almost like, you've got your Dan Sheehan and your Ronan Kelleher, who are your like two ones that you would think relatively have it, but in the background as an Ulster fan, Tom Stewart is an exceptional player as well. Much like in almost, I would argue, the Dan Sheehan mold of he can almost be a loose forward. Well, he did play loose forward for us against in South Africa. So, he's got the pace for it, he's got the power for it. Tight head props, it's my worry, to be honest with you. I think with Tag Furlong aging as well as Finlay Bealham being older than him, it's a bit worrying. Whether or not Tom O'Toole might make the switch back, or somebody like Scotty Wilson gets a chance at three. There is hope there. I can speak in an Ulster sense as well. Like seeing those players like week in, week out. Scotty Wilson probably like almost deserves that at some point. It's a question of when, not if. Sam Elo as well is also a very, very, very good player. So, looking at that, I think our I think our front three is relatively settled. Billy Bowen is also a really good player. Like Connor are producing some really good front row players. And it's a case of if they get to keep them and they don't go off to other provinces. Because Sam Elo is going to be worth his weight in gold when it comes to like what even this season. Well, he's proving it this season, but like think about this time next year. He's only going to push on and get better. So yeah, I think we're relatively okay in our stocks. I think sorry, I think the glaring issue at loose head prop was is mainly due to how much we have based in Leinster. But that just shows how much Leinster are producing, because when you look at it, there's what two Munster men, three Leinster men, and
An
one
Ulsterman
Connacht
is.
and Ulsterman as well. But then when you look at like the uncapped and the partially capped as well, like I wouldn't say that Sam Crane's going to make it just yet. Eric O'Sullivan relatively out of the question. So, it shows that maybe a bit of movement around provinces might be a good thing. But we'll see.
Yeah, no, it is the case. And just kind of moving into the second row then. So I've tried to divide it in terms of style. So your tight headlock, your Joe McCarthy, Edward Adogbo, Ian Henderson, Jimmy Mangan, Harry Sheridan, then Tyke Byrne, James Ryan, Tom Ahern, Darren Murray. That one is obviously up for debate because Ahern was in the original squad. Murray wasn't, but Murray has now got capped. And then I Finney Wycherley, but also Evan O'Connell and Charlie Irvine are very highly thought of. This is probably a position where a lot of youth, Mangan, O'Connell, Irvine, Ahern, Edogbo, McCartney, Murray, all very young men, Adam, but there's a lot of quality there. Like this is probably one position where you're like, it's fine. This will play out nicely.
Yeah, I think we like Ireland never lack in producing like 6'5" behemoths in the second row. Like you think of the likes of like O'Connell and Devin Toner in like the mid 2010s, and then you think before that it was O'Connell O'Callaghan. So I think our second row stock is probably one of the most healthy stocks in this squad. The likes of a Dogbo is the future. Let's face it. Joe McCarthy had a very good tournament. Big Joe had a very good tournament this tournament. I thought that Byrne, as we say, it ages like a fine wine. I thought James Ryan put up really good tournament as well. Like there's all these players that when they hit their form, they're brilliant players. Ian Henderson is probably having the season for Ulster that we wanted him to have for a while, to be fair to him. Whether or not he's going to get internationally capped again, it's another story. But yeah, I must say Darren Murray scored the try against Scotland. His like what 30 to 25 minute cameo was like he was relatively unstoppable. He took us at like chance with both hands. When I look into Evan O'Connell, great player as well, still young, the likes of Harry Sheridan and Charlie Irvine as well. There's loads of players like that where we've got so much talent coming through that it's you can't help but be excited for the next generation of Irish players coming through, because they are big fellas and you just wonder what they got fed in the under 20s squad, because they've just propelled themselves and they've gotten better and better as their professional careers have gone on. The likes of Charlie Irvine and Harry Sheridan getting regular games for Ulster as well. Bearing in mind that I think it was Sheridan that got the red on the weekend, but with all these players coming through and the amount of provincial games that they're getting, we're only going to get better in their stocks. And I don't think it's necessarily a worry at all for us because of how much we can bring in.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I think it's all pretty healthy. Just to flag before we get into back row, I have Josh Neal and Tom Wood listed on this. I'm kind of working on a piece, so like that's kind of why they're there in my thinking. And I also think of any of the under 20s team, I think they're probably two of the ones that look the most pro ready as of right now. But David, I'm going to let you take over with the back row. Always a competitive position. At number six, I have Ryan Baird still ahead of Cormac Stuku, Keane Prendergast, James McNabney, and Alex Soroka, with previously capped Paul Boyle in that list. Josh van der Fleer, Nick Timoney, Bryn Ward, Alex Kendall, and David McCann is my number seven depth at the moment. And Caelan Doris, Jack Conan, Brian Gleason, Sean Jansen, and then Max Deegan and Coombs. You could probably split hairs because they both got one start in the summer there. This is always the position where we talk about Ireland being strong. Now you look at how many players capped. It's not as much as other positions, but it's still in a pretty healthy place, hoping that Ward, Gleeson, maybe McNabney, Jansen, McCann could hopefully get a cap or two, or at least call ups before the World Cup.
Yeah, I think the fact that that the caps don't go quite as deep there is almost is kind of um because of the strength. Like the first line players are so high quality that it's not a position outside of maybe six that gets rotated as often. Ken Doris being captain also kind of means that if he's fit and it's any kind of important game, he's probably going to start. He's probably going to start at eight. It's kind of an interesting one. Well, there's two interesting ones. So seven is interesting because Josh van der Fleer, obviously World Player of the Year, and such a consistent performer. Anyone who's looking at his stats for the tournament will know he registered. I think it was like 50. There was 52 or 56 tackles completed, no misses over 5 games, which is pretty important, pretty impressive. So he
Whoever tweeted that must have been a smart guy.
So he does a lot of that nuggety consistent work. Nick Timoney though now has shown that like he both starting and coming off the bench, he can have a phenomenal impact. I heard Andrew Trimble compare him to Sean O'Brien, which is like the highest compliment you could give. So like there is depth at that position. I think seven is also kind of a weird one because there are players like Kevin Doris who can play seven. There's a couple of lads who play six who could swap over. The specialist sevens tend to just play seven. I know Timothy has played a bit at eight as well, but like say Josh Van der Veer basically exclusively plays at seven. So it's a case of if you're um not good enough to absolutely nail down seven, you'd want to be versatile. Which then brings us around to six, which is probably the most interesting role since Peter O'Mahony retired. There's no one who's like fully nailed down. Ryan Baird probably had one of his best seasons for Leinster and then for Ireland, and probably came as close to nail down as possible before he got his injury. Since then, we've seen Cormac Tuku, who's promised a lot for a long time, finally get a go at it and play really well, and then unfortunately fall to injury again. He was back for Ulster over the weekend, and I think he got a concussion, so hopefully that won't rule him out for too long. Keane Prendergast also, pushed and represented there. It's an interesting position because the last 3 rounds of the Six Nations, the whole Triple Crown, none of the players listed at six were the ones who started at six. The players where it was Jack Conan twice and then Ty Byrne once. So it's a position where we seem to be willing to sacrifice a specialist, quote unquote, in order to get the best player on the pitch. But going forward, I think um, certainly some of those players like Brian Jack Conan are not the youngest, and I think six weirdly, despite it being the position where we don't have a nailed down first choice, I think it is probably the healthiest because you feel like if it's Ryan Baird or if it's Cormac Chuku or if it's Keane Prendergast or even beyond that there is a lot of promise. I think, just because you put him on the list and he's number five there. I'm a big fan of Alex Soroka, but I'm not sure if he's nursing a hidden injury or if something's going on there. He hasn't been featuring a lot with Leinster lately, so after showing well, I think he featured on he's gone on certainly emerging Ireland terms before. You'd want to see more from him before I started considering him that high up that list. But other than that, like that, the sixth thing, I think we have really strong frontliners at seven and eight, and then we have an impressive amount of almost their depth at six. So, I think between the lads will have starting, and then if it's a 6-2 bench, that there could be at least two of them on the bench. So, yeah, it's a broad category, and players like Josh Neal coming through. I think he's definitely one for his future because even though you think you can slot in now, like I think he's still got another year at under 20s. Like he's quite young, but it does kind of show like it's definitely they're definitely not positions I'd be worried about because I think that there's always good coming through there for Ireland. So um, an interesting one certainly, and I think of the three of them, six is the one to keep an eye on over the next 12 months, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. And like, it's funny how many blindside flanks that Ireland have that are all very similar mold. Bears, Ahern is Juku. Keen Prendergast less so, but he is a line-out option. You've got the likes of, say, Josh Neal, massive line-out game, but he's not there yet. I know, but just keep throwing him in. Joe Hopes, Jeremy Mangan, Alex Soroka, Charlie Irvine, um, Harry Sheridan, like tall, half-lock type players. We love that mold. I even throw maybe Sean Dogbo in there as a similar type player. We love that type of player. And I think if you're in that mold, you're a little bit higher up the pecking order because that's the way Ireland are going to go. And if they do go 6-2 at a World Cup, because you could be stretched a little bit, you could be down numbers, it does play into the hands of maybe Tom Ahern makes a late run, maybe Ryan Baird starts, or maybe he becomes a bench option again with Jack Conan starting. Maybe there's room for a Harry Sheridan, maybe there's room for a Charlie Irvine, whatever it might be, and it is starting to look really impressive. I'm going to take us through the halfbacks. I promise there won't be any provincial bickering here because I've kept the Leinster man and the Munster man apart. Um, allegedly. Jameson Gibson Park, number one. Obviously, I've Craig Casey still ahead, Nathan Duck for now, Ben Murphy, and then Keenan Blade. Then I've Jack Crowley, Sam Prendergast, Kieran Frawley, Harry Byrne, and Jack Murphy as the out halves, with Jack Carthy as the only other capped player there. Of course, as I said, I've Tom Wood included on this list. Likewise, Casper Gabriel. They've like the same amount of provincial minutes each. They're a long way down the chart, but I felt the need to include them. I think scrum half for me, and I mentioned this, I don't see the value of bringing James Gibson Park this summer, apart from the fact that he is kind of Ireland's player. And whether you agree with it or not, even though it's very similar to 2023, where look, we know this guy is 34 years of age, but we're building our team around him for one last hurrah because they're world class. Yes, also at the same time, gulp. Like, there's a massive risk that comes with that. Like, he plays in a position. It's not like Gibson Park is like Conor Murray and he's just going to sit back and kick and pass and do all that. He's going to make runs. There's going to be side steps. There's always going to be a chance he aggravates something. And that's where I look at it. I'm like, well, Craig Casey is test level. Nathan Doak is test level. I'm not 100% sure on the other options, but I'm like, those two are. So maybe we give them this run. And sure, Eden Park against New Zealand may not go well. Craig Casey has played well against Australia the two or three times he's played them. And Nathan Doak, I believe they're two players of very similar quality with different strengths, but very similar quality. So I absolutely back him that he could do it. So for me, there's an advantage to doing that. And whether you go with Murphy or Blade or maybe a Matthew Devine or someone like that, I think it's those three Connacht lads are next up, one of the three. Um, and should probably add as well, left out players who were retiring or leaving the country, like Luke McGrath, etc. Um, that's the way I'd go. The out half then on the flip side, I think that's our three. To be honest, I think Harry Byrne is going to need to wrestle the number 10 shirt at Leinster to make the summer at the moment, just because he got no minutes, even when Sam was kind of, rested or removed from the firing line. Harry Byrne didn't get any minutes, not against Wales, not against Scotland, not against England. I do think that's a sign. Now Jack Murphy hasn't got a lot of A minutes, but I think he's closer to Harry Byrne than Harry Byrne is to Sam or Jack Crowley at the moment, if I'm entirely honest. So again, is there a claim to be made of blooding more players? I think if we're going to bring Kieran Frawley as a third choice 10, I think he has to get some game time at 10. Ideally, he gets that at Connacht, but we should be interested to see how that goes. Ben, I'm going to bring you in to do the entire rest of the back line. The more I think of it, I should have given you the back row and should have given David the back line. Just given your own personal preferences on these things. But the left wing position, I've gone for the more power winger types in case anyone thinks it's a bit skewed. So I've just gone with Lowe, Stockdale, Zach Ward, Shane Bolton, Jimmy Kilgallen. And then on the other wing, I do think it's actually Robert Balakoon right now at the moment, ahead of Mac Hansen. So Balakoon, Hansen, Tommy O'Brien, Calvin Nash, JJ Kenny. So if anyone's wondering, I've gone with the power winger and then your more speedy winger. Center, I've gone with it should be McCluskey ahead of Aki. That's my mistake. McCluskey, Aki, Postlethwaite, Ford, Hugh Gavin, and then Gary Ringrose, Robbie Henshaw, Tom Farrell. I've gone with Dan Kelly and then James Hume, two players who I think are criminally underrated. And then a fullback, Hugo Keane and Jamie Osborne, Jimmy O'Brien, Mike Lowry. I've gone with Ben O'Connor ahead of Sean Nocton, and I think I'm not realizing, did I leave out Jimmy O'Brien off this list?
No, he's third choice in
Oh
for
no,
me.
he's third choice fullback. Sorry. I would say a long day. It's not been that long of a day. But Ben, again, you look at it, it's like, oh, we haven't copped a lot of centers. Maybe not a lot of wingers have a lot of gaps there in terms of like Balogun, O'Brien, Nash. Definitely don't have a lot. But it's also like there's quality there. Like if we can, similar to back row, if we cap Zach Ward, Drew Postlewaite, Dan Kelly, and bring James Hume back in, you're like, okay, that becomes a lot more green, and you'd be a hell of a lot happier in 12 months' time if that's the case.
Yeah, like to take like, the entire back line actually with how we're set up is actually quite nice to take as a whole because it's where we have depth, we have experience, but there's so much good in that third, fourth for the YouTube people coming up through it. Like you would hope that in the summer we'd see Ward, Postlewaite if he's fit, Bolton, Ford, Munster Hatton me says Dan Kelly, get more chances, get a chance to nail down a green jersey from there. Personally, I'd like to see Ringrose and Henshaw drop down a little by the time the next World Cup comes along. Just be like as we've said for Gibson Park, as we've said for certain players in the front row, they're aging. We shouldn't really need to rely on Lowe, Aki, Ringrose, Keenan going into a World Cup in 2027. That's where we are now. I said this off camera to David during the week, but we're probably in a position where Osborne is our starting 15. With how the game is currently played, I quite like the way he covers backfield incredibly well. Keenan hasn't played for a while. We know how good Keenan is, but Osborne just suits the current quote unquote meta of the game a little bit more in my head. I know it's per position, but Kieran Frawley at 12 is an incredibly good live option right now.
Never played there for Ireland. Has only ever played fullback for Ireland, should be said. But yes,
Yes, but like he doesn't play 10 for Leinster and he plays 10 for Ireland.
that's true.
So like personal POV, I'd probably have Frawley as our second choice 12 right now. Um,
Okay.
yes, McCluskey is starting. There's no debate in mind that McCluskey starts. But if we're looking to bulk up our centres, you're going to put Frawley down there. You're going to give Postlewaite some more games. Hopefully, Dan Kelly gets a start. I'm quite sad if Mike Haley is low down as he is because I think he's actually excellent in how we'd like to play the game currently. Not that he'll get a cap, but look,
But
we've
I've tried to for anyone who is watching a bit confused as to some of the inclusions, I've put in the likes of Mike Haley, Jack O'Donoghue, Dave Heffernan, and Eric O'Sullivan at the last of their list because they are still capped players, and it is important to have them on the
no,
list
like
somewhere. So,
you've gone realistic.
mm.
Unfortunately, we said this after the A game, but again, in the summer, I'd love to see JJ Kenny get that step up to maybe ahead of Calvin. He's not far off in terms of his URC Men's Champions Cup. Get him that push. Will he get above O'Brien? Probably not, but he
But
certainly has
that's
the
the thing.
talent to
If
get
Lowe comes
there.
back and O'Brien is fit and Keenan, Osborne, and Jimmy O'Brien are all fit, he's going to struggle for big time Leinster minutes. That's going to be his big thing compared to say Zach Ward, Calvin Nash, who'd be in a similar position.
Like, with all the criticism that I personally have done of Farrell, he's done a really good job of having nearly 10, 12, 13, 15 as kind of an interchangeable. We can put 10s here, we can put 15s here. 12s, we can navigate them in with 10, which Ireland haven't done for a very long time. Um, in the summer, I'd love us to experiment a bit more, just get that depth chart moved around a little bit.
Mhm.
And again, get McCluskey, just get him nailed down that 12 jersey, please.
Yeah. I mean, I think he already has, as David said earlier, but it is a very interesting picture to paint. I'm just going to do one last thing, gentlemen, before we wrap up this evening on the depth chart stuff. And I'm going to ask you all again to look at your own ones and just give me one player you want to see get capped. And my laptop, of course, just decides, no, take a minute. But if you can pick anyone on this, you can go from the number 10 on the list to so uncapped guys. Um, Adam, who in that front row would you like to see get capped next?
In that front row.
Front row, yeah.
Sam Elo or Scotty Wilson.
Okay. I think that makes a lot of sense. Rumors of ad reporters shifting across the title is worth noting. And in the second row,
Um, Ooh, I would like to see, to be honest with you, I'd like to see Harry Sheridan make that step up in the international scene. He's a big brute, so I reckon, yeah, I would love to see him in the green.
Having his most consistent season to date as well, I think it's important to
Yeah,
say. Like
he
he probably a player who kind of went in and out of games. I don't think that's been something you could lay at his feet this year, could you?
No, I think he's been silently doing really well. Like I'm sorry to mention him, kind of like Jack Murphy, silently under the radar, building his stock, consistently doing well. So yeah,
I'm
I
not
think
sure you can say that about Jack Murphy, considering all the kite flying you've done on this podcast, but maybe elsewhere in the
but
mainstream, I think that's
but
fair to say.
but yeah, I think Harry Sheridan is proving himself to be like it's come to a point where Ulster don't really, well, we still need Ian Henderson, but when Ian Henderson's not there, the likes of Harry Sheridan brings up our stock still, and we're doing really well with it. So yeah, I think I would really want to see Harry Sheridan get capped.
David, the back row, who is next up for you? You can give me maybe two here just because it's so competitive.
Yeah, I was going to give you two. I would like to see Bryn Ward and Sean Jansen. I think Ward has been like he's been so brilliant for Ulster. In a season where his brother was like, being touted as possibly stepping up on Ireland's left wing to then outshine him in Ulster's games from the back row. And then to go into camp and seemingly to be exactly, we talk sometimes about like guys going into camp and not quite gelling or not quite showing what they want to do. Apparently, he's exactly what they want. They kept him around for longer. It seems like the coaching staff are very impressed by him. Um, you know, he just makes sense, and I feel like I don't know what position exactly they're going to play him in, but they need. You know, you can't have a player that good, that young, and not find a way to get him in. So I'd love to see him get a shot. And then Sean Jansen, like anyone from Connacht won't need any explaining for this. He's just been brilliant. Like it's an unfortunate position in that it's the position that the Ireland captain plays, and then Jack Conan backs him up, who's also been phenomenal for years. But he's just been brilliant for Connacht, and that's the kind of player like a team like Connacht really benefits from someone who's like rock solid and then can also score tries and just can show up on days when the rest of the squad isn't necessarily. So, I think in terms of having earned it, I think definitely on the back of this season, but on the back of a lot of seasons of really rock solid work. I think Sean Jansen is well deserving of a call up and a cap at this stage.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I do think it's definitely worth noting that like Janssen, very similar player to Gavin Coombs, so there is a chance that they may look at a Bryn Ward as the number eight because we don't know what they looked at Bryn Ward as in camp, whether that was more of an open side backup or a number eight backup. He would probably suit the number eight conversation if that's the case. It's different, but I do think I think those that little mini triangle there of Ward, Lees, and Janssen, they're all thereabouts. I think you're splitting hairs. Obviously, Ward got the opportunity. For me, in halfback, there's really no one left, to be honest, apart from Matthew Devine and Jack Murphy. But look, I covered every single game of the 20s this year. I do think there's a lot of talent in Josh Neal and Tom Wood in particular. I really liked Christopher Barrett, but he's not in the Munster Academy, so it would be unfair to put him in a list like this because he's not in the academy yet. He's with the national talent squad. But I like Devine. I like the idea of his move. I think he's making the right decision. He could well kick on, and I think Jack Murphy's playing really well. But long term, 2020, 2028, if we're looking at Tom Wood being thereabouts, I would not be surprised. He's looked very good. And Ben, you probably have the easiest choice here because there's at least three or four options where you just cannot go wrong in backline players. Give us two that you'd like to see get capped.
Uh, Jude Postlewaite, Colin Ford. Easy. Get
Yeah.
him in. Munster ahead of me says Ben O'Connor. Like to get him a shot in one of the quote unquote lesser games. But Jude's gonna get his cap. Ford probably won't far behind him, and I think Adam might kill me if I don't say Zach Ward needs to get a cap in green very soon.
I mean, that's the most un-Cork limericking that we've ever had in the history of Cork limerickings. The fact that you've just gone, I'll go with the Cork man.
If we
Although
ever play
Ben,
a game in
allegedly,
Páirc Uí Chaoimh, he has to start. It's in his contract. So
it
it's fine. I
is.
may as well
It,
get him
it
in there
actually
now.
is. I believe that came out of time. And to be fair, he had a very good game in Páirc Uí Chaoimh that day. Like I know, like there's know the club, know the ground, knows every blade of grass, but like he kind of took the piss. That was probably his best performance to date with Munster. Lads, really, really quickly. We have three inter, sorry, not three interpros. That wouldn't be possible, technically. We have three URC games this weekend. We've got Ulster at home to Connacht. We've got the Sharks at home to Munster in a repeat of Wink Gate. And I think that whole thing was a lot of wink, anyways. And then we have Leinster travelling to take on Glasgow. Adam as the home side in the first Interpro of the game of the week, the only Interpro of the week. Your thoughts on that one? Ulster down a few men.
Yeah, we're down quite a few. Izuchuku, Hume, Postlethwaite, like we are struggling.
Harry Sheridan.
Harry Sheridan as well. There's a couple of players, Robert Ballard. Well, he's not picked, but as you said at the start of the podcast, it kind of scares me still. But yeah, we're down a few players. Connacht weren't exactly affected enough by the Six Nations, so the likes of Bundy having a potential to start or be on the bench is quite a frightening prospect as an Ulster fan. Um, they would have their sort of international quality back with that. But yeah, Ulster at Ravenhill, we still have that depth. Our depth is going to get tested, but with Richie Murphy being a former under 20s coach, he's used to having a different squad every year. So I almost think that it's really nice to see some integration getting put in there as well. So I would want I'd see Ulster by about 10 points, I'd say. Ulster by 10 points. It's one of those that I think we have to win every game now. Like it's a cliche that every game's a final, but it is. If we want to stay in the top eight, we want to qualify for the Champions Cup, which we didn't do last season. We're much better than last season, but we need to prove that now. Like this is like the business end.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think both sides need a win. Connacht on a three-game win streak at the moment. I know the last game was round two, so you may overlook it, but three-game win streak at the moment, starting to build a bit of momentum. Connacht really need to pick up wins at home in particular before, because they've got South African tours still to come, which other teams around the same position in the league don't have. So it's important, but also at the same time, I'm like, Connacht should have a stronger squad for this one. They should have most of their internationals back. They do have the likes of Matthew Devine back from injury. I think Dave Heffernan, I think, is back from injury as well. Sam Elo's back from illness. So like Connacht really need to be targeted to win here, but history suggests that Connacht don't really win in Belfast. That's the other thing. Well, history suggests
I
no one wins in
I
Belfast over the last like 12
I
months, but you know.
I was there when Bundyaki intercepted a ball, and it was their first time they won since the 1970s. So
Yeah.
you said that just gave me a shiver to my core there a little bit.
We might do a if Lee ever lets us do Netflix specials, we'll do one on that URC quarterfinal 23. Connacht's last big grandstand under Andy Friend versus the final level of the Dan McFarland era. It's really amazing how that game kind of
It's
flipped everything on its head. Good chance
such
Ulster win
a
the league that year if they win that game.
yeah, it was such a cursed time. Anyway,
Yeah. I mean, not for me. I finished college for the first time on that exact day. So not a bad time for me. The next game is Munster Sharks. Ben, how excited are you for South African patter about the wink to come up over and over and over and over and over again as if it was ever funny in the first place?
The Sharks are already using it in their promos. One of their pictures is
Yeah.
Crowley and Hendricksa, and I saw it and I was just like, oh, can we not?
Completely
They can
forgot
be
Crowley had skinhead for the first couple of weeks of the season as well.
like, it's going
Forgot
to be
that.
a bad enough 2 weeks with the, no offense to any of the commenters that happen to be from that side of the world, but the online Springbok fans just give me a rash. I'm sorry. If look, it's going to be a tough 2 weeks for Munster, like it just is. We're going to be missing our internationals certainly for this week, to be determined next week if we have any of them back. And then it's an even tougher week three that we'll get onto. But look, um, I think I take a losing bonus, but I take two losing bonus points, bring them home. The one to target in my head is the Sharks. I think they're more beatable. It's not at altitude.
Yeah.
You deal with the pool if you score a try, but once you don't slide into that, it's kind of okay.
And the
The,
games often open up there as well. Like Munster were well beaten in this fixture last year, but they came away with a try bonus point because that's what often happens. Like
look,
it's probably the most
we've a
attainable.
stupidly good record in South Africa. It's the only thing. Like Munster tend not to lose all that much when we go down south. Um, yeah, like I'm not gonna say we're gonna win comfortably, but my heart kind of says we can get a win Saturday, and then you deal with the Bulls and you go
I,
from
I
there.
I could be wrong. I think the Stormers game in Cape Town last year is the only time Munster have left South African game without a point at the very least.
And
So
like we beat
they
the
do have a good
Stormers when it
record.
mattered.
Beat the Stormers when it mattered, of
So
course. Winning finals apparently is the aim. Who knew that, people? But the final game of the weekend is, look, if this was in a week's time, it's the game of the week. Maybe not at the moment because there's so many internationals unavailable. David, a trip to Scotland to take on Glasgow. How's it gonna go?
Um, God, I don't know. It's hard to. It's a tough enough place to go to at the best of times. It's really hard to know where Leinster are at the moment. Like we've been on a pretty good run. Easy to forget that despite that like really rocky start to the season, I think we then hadn't lost since losing to Munster in Croker. So, we had a pretty good streak going there for a while. And then the Cardiff game was just weird. So I don't even know how much you learned from that because the conditions were awful. Both teams were pretty awful. And it was just the one penalty that separated them at the end. So it'll be interesting to see how many players Leinster can get back in. Obviously, they supply the bulk of the Ireland squad, but at the same time, there seems to be some leeway around depending on how much players were involved. So you could even see someone like Sam Prendergast who hasn't played since earlier in the tournament.
Kieran Frawley trained on Monday is probably one to
Yeah,
look at.
so Fralls is definitely one who could come back in there. It's the probably the pack where we might feel it a little bit more. We still have Jerry Kerr in there who's playing really well, but is, just, is I think this is his first season up from the AL. We're pretty deep on the both the hooker and tight head prop side. So yeah, it'll be tough. It'll be a tough game. I think there's every possibility that at home with the advantage of that and possibly some of the latent frustration from how the Six Nations turned out that Glasgow could really put a number on Leinster. But I think it'll be one that Leinster can't let go. There needs to be something coming out of this game because anyone who's looked at the table will know it is like incredibly tight at the top. And whatever about getting a win, like I think the top is it like the top five teams or the top sorry, not the very top team, but the next one, two, so one and two have nine, and then one, two, three, four. So two, three to six, those four teams are all on 8 wins. And the top two are on 9. The Stormers are actually on the same points as 3 and 4. It's just bonus points that are keeping Ulster and Leinster level with them on points. So bonus points are so important. So whether it be a try bonus point or a losing bonus point, if they're not going to get a win, it'll be on Leinster to try and get. People are smiling, and I don't know why. It'll be on.
There was a
It'll,
message sent to the group chat we're being
it,
childish. That's
it'll be
why.
on Ulster and Leinster to get, or sorry, it'll be on Leinster to get whatever they can out of this game. Ideally a win, but if they don't get a win, they need to get some points because this tournament, this table is too tight to be leaving Glasgow with nothing.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think Leinster would have a strong enough team to go over there and win. Similarly to I feel like Connacht would have a strong enough team to go up to Belfast and win. But the problem there is going to Belfast and going to Glasgow and winning is very, very difficult, even if you're at full strength. Like they're two very tough places to go. Um, don't quote me on that, gentlemen. We've gone over this week, but we had lots of fun chat and a lot of silly jokes. And Ben has to go back and watch the first 5 minutes that he missed for some weirdness. But thank you very much for joining me on a Wednesday, a little bit later this week. We'll hopefully be back next Tuesday to talk about 3 URC games, including an Interpro, which will, of course, be top of the billing. If you like what you hear, as always, make sure to smash those like and subscribe buttons for all the Global Gain Line content, as Ben is pointing down to you. And I think that's everything. So, from me, Kaelan, from all the lads, hyper as ever, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll chat to you very, very soon.